Have you ever felt a quiet nudge deep inside, like a soft whisper telling you what feels right, only to push it away because it seemed too risky or impractical? I've done that more times than I can count. For years, I ignored that inner voice, chasing what I thought I was supposed to do, taking jobs that didn't spark joy, saying yes to keep others happy, trying to fit into a box that never felt like mine. It was like I was playing a role in someone else's story, and it left me feeling lost, like I'd left a piece of myself behind. Then I stumbled across Carl Jung's wisdom, and it was like finding a light in the dark. That inner voice isn't just a feeling, it's your greatest ally, guiding you to the life you're meant to live. Jung, a thinker who dove deep into the hidden parts of our minds, believed our inner voice comes from the unconscious, a vast, quiet place inside us filled with wisdom we often overlook. He said the world around us, what he called the collective unconscious, hands us rules to follow. Get approval, play it safe, don't rock the boat. It's like society gives us a script and we're taught to stick to it. But Jung saw something else. Your inner voice, that gut feeling or gentle knowing, is like a compass for your soul. It's not loud or bossy, it's patient, waiting for you to listen. For me, ignoring that voice meant ignoring my fear of not being enough, a shadow I kept hidden because I thought it made me less. Let me take you back to a moment that shook me awake. I was at a turning point, stuck in a job that looked good on paper but left me empty. Every day I'd feel this pull to leave, to try something creative like writing, but I'd shove it down thinking, that's not realistic. What will my family say? What if I fail? One evening, sitting on my couch, staring at a blank laptop screen, I felt crushed. I wasn't just tired, I was lost. I asked myself, why am I ignoring this feeling? Why am I so scared to listen? The answer was raw. I was terrified of failing, of looking foolish, of letting people down. That's when I found Jung's ideas, and they felt like a friend sitting beside me saying, that voice knows you. Trust it. This isn't just my story. It's something we all share. Think of Neo in The Matrix, living in a world of rules, unaware he could trust his instincts to break free. We're all a bit like Neo, aren't we? We drown out our inner voice with noise, expectations, fears, the pressure to fit in. Jung called the journey to listen individuation, growing into your whole self by tuning into what's inside, even when it feels uncertain. Listening to your inner voice doesn't mean throwing caution to the wind. It's about being honest with what feels true, even if it's just a whisper. I'll never forget the first time I really heard that voice. I was offered a promotion, more money, more status, the kind of thing everyone said I should want. But my gut was screaming, this isn't you. You'll lose yourself. My hand shook as I turned it down, saying, I need to explore my own path. I braced for disappointment, but my boss just nodded, and something inside me lit up. I felt free, like I'd reclaimed a piece of who I was. Jung would call this meeting your shadow, facing the fears you've buried to hear your truth. That moment planted a seed of self-love, a warmth that grew with every time I listened. Why do we push that voice away? Jung said it's because we're taught it's not enough. Logic, others' opinions, the smart choice always seem to win. The collective unconscious tells us to stay safe, to avoid the unknown. But here's what I've found. When you listen to your inner voice, you find a guide that knows you better than anyone. It's like a friend who's always there, pointing you toward a life that feels like yours. What might it feel like to pause just for a second and hear that quiet nudge. I'm not saying you have to follow it right away. I'm inviting you to be curious, to ask what it's trying to say. Jung's teachings suggest your inner voice is an ally, waiting to lead you to a love for yourself you might not even know is there. Let's explore what happens when we start to listen together. Imagine waking up each day feeling like you're living a life that's truly yours, not a script someone else wrote. That's the magic of trusting your inner voice. And Carl Jung's wisdom shows us why it's so transformative. When you tune into that quiet knowing inside, you're not just making decisions. You're stepping into individuation, the journey to become your truest, most whole self. It's like finding a map to a place you've always belonged, drawn in the language of your heart. Let's dive into what this trust brings you. First, it helps you embrace your shadow. Jung described the shadow as the parts of you you've pushed away, fears, doubts, or dreams you've tucked out of sight. For me, it was the fear of not being enough. I'd silence my inner voice when it urged me to write, thinking, who am I to try? I'll just fail. When I started listening, I had to face that fear head on. I'd sit with my journal asking, why am I scared to follow this nudge? What's really holding me back? The answers were messy. I was terrified of being laughed at, of proving I wasn't good enough. But writing them down felt like meeting a part of myself I'd ignored for years. Jung said, embracing your shadow brings wholeness, and I felt that, a love for myself that didn't demand perfection, just honesty. Then there's synchronicity, those moments when life seems to align in ways that feel almost magical. Jung believed when you trust your inner voice, the universe meets you halfway. Think of Santiago in The Alchemist, finding signs that guided him once he listened to his heart. When I trusted my gut and left that soul-draining job, I wasn't sure what would come next. But a week later, I stumbled across a flyer for a writing workshop in my neighborhood. I went, nervous but curious, and met people who changed my life. A teacher who saw my spark. Friends who shared my love for words. Those weren't just lucky breaks, they were synchronicity. Listening to your inner voice makes space for what's meant for you. Connections, opportunities, moments that feel like they were waiting for you. Trust in your inner voice also builds a deep, quiet confidence. Each time you follow that nudge, you're telling yourself, I trust who I am. I felt this when I shared a piece of writing online, my stomach in knots, scared of criticism. I posted it anyway, and people responded with warmth. Some said it touched them. Others shared their own stories. That moment wasn't just about the feedback, it was about trusting myself. Jung would call this individuation, defining yourself by your truth, not your fears. Over time, this changes your life. You start projects that light you up, like taking a class or saying no to what doesn't fit. You attract people who see the real you, and you find a peace that comes from knowing you're enough, just as you are. Let me share a story that brings this to life. Lisa, a woman I met, was in her 50s, stuck in a career that felt like a cage. Her inner voice kept whispering to try teaching, but she ignored it, thinking, it's too late. What if I fail? She was exhausted, barely recognizing herself. One day, she started listening. She journaled about her fear of starting over, realizing it came from worrying she'd let her family down. With her heart racing, she signed up for a teaching course. That choice led to a job she adores, and her family beamed with pride. Lisa's smile now radiates joy. She found herself by trusting that whisper. Her story shows what's possible when you listen. You uncover a life that feels like home. This isn't about throwing out reason or chasing every impulse. Jung's ideas show your inner voice is a guide, balancing heart and head, leading you to what's true. For me, it meant less time seeking approval and more time writing, connecting, being me. My trust inspired a friend to listen to her own voice and leave a toxic relationship. She's happier now than ever. Jung believed individuation lifts everyone. Your truth becomes a light for others, wondering what your inner voice might reveal. I'm thrilled to explore some gentle ways to start listening together. Now that we've felt the warmth of trusting our inner voice, let's explore how to listen to it. Carl Jung's ideas offer simple, heartfelt ways to tune in, and they don't ask you to be certain or fearless, just open to what's inside. These aren't rules to follow, they're invitations to get to know yourself, to hear that quiet whisper that's been there all along. No matter where you are, you can start. And the discoveries might feel like finding a piece of yourself you didn't know was missing. One way to begin is with shadow work. Jung saw the shadow as the fears, doubts, or dreams we've hidden, like the worry you're not enough or the longing to chase something new. For me, this meant facing my fear of failing as a writer. I'd grab a notebook and write, "What's this fear trying to tell me? Why do I push my gut feeling away?" I let the words spill out, no judgment, like talking to someone who gets me. It was hard, seeing my fear of looking foolish right there on the page, but it was also like lifting a weight. Want to give it a try? Take 10 minutes to write about a moment your inner voice spoke up. Maybe a time you felt a nudge but didn't follow it. Ask what stopped you. Jung said this helps you meet your shadow, and it can spark a love for yourself that's grounded and real. Another step is pausing to notice your inner voice when it speaks. Jung's individuation is about living from your truth, even when fears or doubts tug at you. I started doing this when I felt torn, like when a friend asked me to join a project that didn't feel right. I'd pause, take a deep breath, and ask, what does my gut say? Sometimes I'd say, I need to pass on this. Other times, I'd ask for time to think. Both choices felt like honoring who I am. You might try this. Next time you feel that quiet nudge, pause for a moment. Ask what feels true right now. It's not about being bold, it's about being kind to yourself. Jung would say this helps you find your own path, step by step. Self-reflection can guide you too. Jung believed the unconscious speaks through quiet moments, intuitions, or even dreams. I'd end my day asking, when did I hear my inner voice today? What made it easier to listen? Over time, I noticed I often ignored my gut to avoid rocking the boat. But small acts, like saying what I really thought in a conversation, made me feel alive. You could try this. Spend 5 minutes reflecting. Ask, what did my inner voice whisper today? Or write about a dream. Jung saw dreams as little notes from your unconscious. Jot down any images, feelings, or moments that stick with you. These glimpses can show you what your heart's trying to say. Here's a story to light the way. Tom, a colleague in his 30s, was stuck in a corporate job that felt like a dead end. His inner voice kept nudging him to start a small business, but he brushed it off, scared of failing and letting his family down. After reading about Jung, he tried shadow work, journaling about his fear. He saw it was tied to a need to prove himself, a weight he'd carried since childhood. He started pausing when his gut spoke, like when he said no to extra work to focus on his business idea. He reflected nightly on what felt true, Within a year, he launched his business, and it's growing steadily. Tom's eyes shine when he talks about it. He found his path by listening. His story shows how small steps can lead to a life that's yours. I invite you to try one of these, journaling, pausing, reflecting for a few days, just to see what it feels like. Pick what calls to you, no rush. Curious for more? Jung's Man and His Symbols is a wonderful start. Link below. I'd love to hear from you. When's a time you trusted your inner voice? Share it in the comments. Your story might spark someone's courage. Let's keep exploring this together, one gentle listen at a time. Let's take a quiet moment to let this journey settle, like a warm glow after a good talk. Carl Jung's wisdom has shown us that your inner voice isn't just a passing thought, it's your greatest ally, guiding you to a love for yourself that's deep, steady, and yours alone. We've explored how the collective unconscious, with its rules and expectations, can drown out that voice, and how our shadows, those hidden fears and doubts, can make us think it's not worth hearing. But when you listen, you step into individuation, embracing every part of who you are, from your dreams to your uncertainties. The gentle practices we've shared, journaling, pausing, reflecting, are like soft lights, showing you the way to a life that feels true. This path, what Jung called individuation, isn't a race or a checklist. It's a lifelong adventure, full of twists and turns. I still hear doubt sometimes. That old fear of failing sneaks in when I'm stretched thin or unsure. But when I sit with my journal, pause to hear my gut, or reflect on what's true, I find my way back to myself. It's like Santiago in The Alchemist. Discovering his treasure wasn't just a prize, it was the journey of trusting his heart. Listening to your inner voice doesn't mean you'll never question yourself. It means you're learning to trust who you are. And that trust builds a love that holds you through life's ups and downs. What's so beautiful is how this trust ripples outward. When you listen to your inner voice, you light a spark that others can see. I felt this when I shared my dream of writing with a friend. I was nervous, expecting her to brush it off, but her face lit up, and she told me about her dream of painting. We spent hours talking, dreaming together, and it felt like we'd unlocked something sacred. Another friend, inspired by my small steps, trusted her gut to move to a new city for a fresh start. She's happier now, living a life that feels like hers. Jung believed individuation is a gift to the world. When you trust your inner voice, you show others they can trust theirs too. Imagine a world where we all listened to that quiet whisper inside, where authenticity was the norm. That's the change you're starting just by being here. Where do you go from here? I invite you to keep listening in whatever way feels right. Maybe journal about a time your inner voice spoke, or pause the next time it nudges you, or take a quiet moment to reflect on what feels true. Try what resonates. No pressure, no hurry. If you're curious for more, Man and His Symbols is a beautiful guide to dive deeper. There's a link below, or join our community to share your journey with others who are listening too. I'm so curious. What's a moment you heard your inner voice and followed it, big or small? Share it in the comments. Your story could be the nudge someone needs to start. Let me leave you with something that's carried me through. You don't need to have everything figured out to trust your inner voice. You just need to give it a moment, to listen like you would to a dear friend. Every time you do, you're weaving a love for yourself that's unbreakable no matter what the world throws your way. Thank you for being here, for walking this path with me. You're enough exactly as you are, with that quiet voice and all. Keep listening, keep trusting, and watch that love grow, lighting up your life and the world around you.